Hey everybody, and welcome. It is Michael Hoyp. I'm here with Bob Baker. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
We are here today. We are going to go over a recorded match between Flint Espel and Ryan Grzycki. They had played their top 16 match for the Premodern November Monthly Open. And Flint is playing the Lands deck, which I have on screen. I will quickly go over what this deck is trying to do. There are about 35 lands in this deck, and then what it's trying to do is get extra land drops with either Exploration or Summer Bloom, and then in combination with the card Hornagreed, which is whenever you play a land, you draw a card.
Whenever anyone plays a land, they draw a card.
Yes, that's true. And you're going to churn through your deck and eventually get a bunch of lands in play and or in your hand, resolve a Seismic Assault, which can have you discard a land card from your hand to deal 2 damage to any target. And if you get too many lands in play, you have something like trade routes to pick them up. But it's kind of like a combo deck, but also can play a little bit of a control role with 4 Wastelands and 4 Rishadan Ports. It more slows the opponent down, but it is definitely interesting because it doesn't have any creatures, and some decks just interact poorly with it. So, and it's really actually pretty cool when it goes off. It actually can be quite quick. So, what are your impressions of this deck, Bob?
This deck is sweet, especially if you like to draw cards, which everyone does. Horner Greed is a cool card. I'm glad that people are playing with it. And specifically in this matchup, we'll be playing up against Stasis here. Cards like Undiscovered Paradise are pretty good against Stasis.
Yes.
And the fact that
Oh no, that's actually not true because you skip your untap step, and that's when the Undiscovered Paradise would return.
okay,
So
cool.
it does actually not interact well. So
Well, that's a blowout.
yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, like once you get Seismic Assault into play, and there's a lot of ways to get your hands on Seismic Assaults and Horner Greeds, I don't really think that the lands player um, cares too much about his lands not untapping at that point.
Yeah.
So
It just might be a little bit difficult to get the spells that he wants to resolve, because if you look at the Stasis list, it has a lot of counter magic. And not only does it have a lot of counter magic, but it has a number of counter magic cards that you don't need to have mana up. So cards like Thwart or sometimes Daze. Daze probably won't be at its best, given how many lands are in the deck, but there still might be a spot where Flint has to tap out. But then there's counterspells and arcane denials. So there are a lot of counterspells for the few cards that Ryan actually needs to counter. So it might prove difficult for Flint to find a spot where he's actually able to resolve the cards he actually wants to win the game. So I guess on paper, I think this might be pretty difficult for Flint to win because of that issue.
yeah, for sure. But Stasis is one of those decks where sometimes you just lock yourself down. Um, Back in the day, Adrian Sullivan used to love to play this deck, and I had tested with him a lot of legacy games, so different format a little bit, where he was playing Stasis, um, and it was not uncommon for him to just like accidentally lock himself out of the game. Um, so I don't know if that's going to be the exact case here in this particular format, but I've definitely seen it happen. Although, to be fair, anybody who knows me, most of the time when I'm playing any kind of Magic, I'm turning guys sideways. So uh, I usually had him on a pretty quick clock. I don't really think that Flint's clock is that quick. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
The one thing that is there is the way that this Stasis deck wins is the 3 copies of Black Vise. And given that Flint doesn't actually have to cast that many spells, he might be able to keep his hand under the Black Vise pretty well. I guess if with Hornagreed, that might be kind of tricky, but it's not as typical. A lot of decks usually have too many cards in their hands because they're not able to cast them. And that might not be the case because so many of the cards are lands in the deck. So maybe that's a way that Flint can go away, is just preventing Ryan from winning, but I guess then he probably just decks out. So let's go over to the match. So one thing, since this is a recorded match, we have the ability to play it at, I think we have it at 2x speed. So the players might be a little bit quicker, but that might be a little bit better for the viewer so that we don't have to sit back, because Stasis games can go a while. So we see Ryan with a smiley face, and it was winking.
Giving a wink, yeah.
Yep. So Flint starts with a City Brass and an Exploration. So,
Listen,
and then he has another City of
Fine with the
Brass.
City of Brass right there, let me
Yep.
tell you.
All right, and there is a Wasteland and a Gemstone Mine. So Flint definitely has a board presence with all his lands, and now has a Horn of Greed.
All right. One interesting thing here with Horn of Greed being symmetrical, it's also not a may, it's mandatory.
That's true.
We could see an interesting thing where both players are kind of locked out of playing spells because they can't play lands that are untapped because Horn of Greed would deck them.
That is true.
Could be an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, as things are flying by, just 2 lands in play now, a third for Ryan, as Flint has added another Gemstone Mine to play.
Right, here's the Black Vise.
Okay.
3 cards in Ryan's hand, or in Flint's hand, so no damage this time. You have to have, I believe, 5 or more cards in your hand.
Yeah. So a Summer Bloom that allows Flint to play 3 more lands this turn. And then he just doesn't have any other lands. So,
just trying to keep his card count low for Black Vise.
Yeah, I mean, also, if Ryan throws out a counterspell, then I think Flint is definitely happy about that. So here's a crop rotation that does require him to sacrifice a land when he's casting it. But there's not really any one card that is super good in this situation.
Yeah. This particular lands list, I don't think it really had very many utility lands to go get.
Yeah, there are a few, but they are in different matchups, like a Barbarian Ring or a Glacial Chasm is probably the one that comes up a lot, but that's not that relevant in this matchup.
What land did we get here? I can't tell. The art is super cool.
It's a Rith's Grove, so that's one of the Plaintiff Lair lands.
Yep, so he picked up another land so he could get another crack off the Horn of Greed.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Another Exploration?
This is a Summer Bloom.
Oh, a Summer Bloom. Okay.
Yeah. The arts are very similar.
Summer Bloom makes me feel fine.
Yeah, I think that's Summer Bloom resolved, but nothing came again.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me too. You never know when he might just want to throw an Arcane Denial out there and let you draw 2 cards.
The Arcane Denial draws are optional though, so.
Okay. We got Impulse here. In his turn. So one of the things that Ryan has to keep him going when the Stasis is in play is I forget the name of the land, but it's
Forsaken City.
Forsaken City, and it lets you is it discard or exile?
Exile, yes.
Yeah, you exile a card from your hand, and you can untap it. So when you're under Stasis, this is a way to be able to pay that blue every turn.
Mm-hmm.
But we see on Flint's side, he has a Wasteland in play right now, so it's going to be he's going to need at least 2 Forsaken Cities before he's in that spot. And it looks like he's stuck on lands here, so.
I mean, unless he is. Yeah, I have to imagine that he's stuck on lands. Because, I mean, there might be a situation where he just wants to stay behind Flint in library count. But I think you still would be playing a few more lands before you'd be worried about that.
Yeah, and I think he missed his 4th lane drop. And it looks like he discarded to hand size there.
Yeah, he's discarded. I know he discarded that Counterspell, and I think he discarded that Chain of Vapor. Yeah,
I mean, from his perspective, the only card he really cares about is Seismic Assault, right? All the rest of the cards are kind of whatever.
Yes, I'm trying to think if anything might make it more difficult, but definitely the only way that he wins is through Seismic Assault, and there's only 2 copies.
Yeah. Do they are their deck lists public at this point?
Yes,
Like,
yes. So,
okay.
yep, they
So,
know they know card for card exactly what they're playing.
I mean, so if I'm Ryan, I'd probably just hang out until he plays Seismic Assault and counter it, and then do that
Yeah,
twice.
yeah.
You know what I
As
mean?
long as you know that you're going to be able to counter it, which is very easy for the Stasis deck to do. Because I mean, Flint might have something like Rishadan Port to tap you out, but you could just get like 6 islands in play, then have 2 thwarts, and I don't think there's anything that Flint can do at that point.
There's a trade routes.
Okay, so that meets a Arcane Denial.
Yeah. And Flint, 5 cards in hand. Looks like he's taking a little bit of damage from his lands and a little bit of damage from that Black Vise. Not a lot. All right, no gamble, no future, my dudes.
The thing is, it's kind of like, I don't know what you're gambling here for. I mean, I guess it's just maybe you go just for the Seismic Assault and just, I guess it's so unlikely to resolve. But I don't know if it doesn't get any better, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, you only have 2 cards that matter, and your whole deck, and your opponent has like dozens of counterspells. I mean, not literally dozens, but you know what I mean. Like, close to a dozen actually. It's actually pretty close to a single dozen. So
I think it might be more than 12. I mean, I guess if you count days, then it's more than 12. But I don't think that one counts.
Yeah, so I don't like what is Flint even like? What's Flint's out even in this matchup?
Hope that Ryan plays too many lands or too many gushes, I think is really the only way that he can win.
But like I mean, like, but Ryan just doesn't have to play anything. He just has to sit there.
Yeah, well, that's why I think that Flint just hopes that Ryan decks himself. But then you're saying because of the Black Vise and like every land, because Flint can't play that many lands because he has to draw a card every time because of Horn Greed. Yeah, it's not really a situation. I think Ryan has to like mess up like pretty bad, like not understand what's going on, which is pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other thing you could do is just kind of get a feel for your opponent and like maybe they misunderstand something in the matchup and you could use that information in the next games. I don't know. That's sometimes I do something like that, but
I will say, even though Flint is like way behind in this matchup, he is way ahead in having just like the most full art lands.
Oh yeah, that's why you criticized him before about his lands in a different match.
Yeah, I mean, he knew he was going to be on camera. That's on him.
Yep. But he said, "Just wait till you watch this match. You'll be more you'll be more you'll be happier with that." So
I'm into it. So we'll go ahead and watch Flint take several game actions that don't actually matter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess having Rishadan Port, I guess it's not. It might be neat. Like maybe he saved those in his hand because there might have been a spot where he thought Ryan wasn't expecting it, and then he could like kill a Stasis. But it looks like Ryan has enough islands to upkeep that Stasis for a while.
You know, the thing is about that is like I don't even think that Ryan needs the Stasis.
No, I don't think so either.
I think Ryan could just like untap and put that Stasis in his graveyard and still like be so far ahead.
Well, he wouldn't untap, but he would put it in the graveyard.
Well, you know what I mean.
And yeah, I agree. Like because with the Black Vise and the Horn Greed, because the Horn Greed is not a May, I just don't think there's a way for Flint to play enough
Flint
cards to stay under a Black Vise.
Yeah.
I'm
trying like extra cards so far this game.
Yep.
So like
in the main deck, there's no way for Flint to get rid of a permanent, a non-creature permanent. There's a Barbarian Ring that could kill a small creature, but he can't get rid of the Black Vise, so that's staying in play.
All right. Well, he's got the Seismic Assault. I have to believe, given the amount of cards that Ryan has drawn and the amount of cards in his hand, that this Seismic Assault is not going to resolve.
Wouldn't that be funny? It's just like
if it did resolve, I think that would be very good for Flint.
Just like draw abysmally, like they're just all the counter spells are at the bottom of your deck. I guess he
Yeah,
discarded counterspell like a million turns ago, so that seems very unlikely.
yeah, it's very, very unlikely. Um,
I'm just trying to create a scenario where it's possible for Flint to win this game.
yeah, I know that's what I'm
I,
trying to do too.
I, I don't think
So I
there
did
is one.
read a tweet earlier today about a player at might have been a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, like a professional Yu-Gi-Oh player, if those exist or whatever, um, who knew that they were dead on board to their opponent's combo, and as their opponent was going through the motions comboing off, they just like reached into their bag and took out like a bunch of cards and started eating them. And their opponent got so confused that they messed up the combo, and then they went on to win. And I think that's like where Flint is at right now. He's got to be on the axis of confusing Ryan so hard that he just concedes.
All right. Once again, Bob's. We're talking about eating cards again. It seems a recurring theme, I guess. I guess maybe you maybe someone put that on their bingo card after they heard it the first time. So
Maybe.
yeah, I don't. I feel like that would be a almost an unsporting like conduct in Magic, but I don't know.
Like,
I don't know where you draw the line.
yeah, I don't know either.
I mean,
I'm saying, like,
I guess
think
if you're taking that action with the intent to disrupt your opponent, then I guess it is right.
I
Unsportsmanlike
don't know.
conduct.
I'm not a judge anymore. I
Yeah,
haven't been a judge for a long time, and
that wasn't on the judges test.
yeah. Uh,
All right.
I mean, at least Flint's board is very pretty to look at.
Yeah. It's, and he's organized all the lands next to
Yeah,
each
I
other.
appreciate that. I mean, I can very much appreciate that.
A trade routes is met with a counterspell.
Seems unnecessary, but fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing we're gonna see a thwart. I guess it could be an Arcane Denial. But Flint takes 2 to try and cast a Seismic Assault. Ooh. Ryan is he thinking? I was to say like a chain of vapor. Wait.
What's happening?
He chain of vapor his own stasis, but
Okay. Oh, and then sack to copy it to bounce the. So okay, so he let the Seismic Assault resolve.
Okay.
Then Chain of Vapored his own stasis.
Yeah.
Sacked a land to copy this Chain of Vapor.
So
and then bounced the Seismic Assault.
So Flint did not have any lands in his hand, I guess.
Flint elected not to do anything with the cards in his hand. So
right.
that makes me believe he probably doesn't have any because he's definitely taking damage at this point from the Black Vise.
Yeah. So I wonder, I mean, I still feel like that was a choice by Ryan to let the resolve. I have to imagine that there are still more counterspells in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like he wasn't going to lose the game to that Seismic Assault. It's not like Flint had 20 cards in his hand, you know? So it's not like he was going to discard 10 lands or whatever. So this is a way to untap all your lands and like essentially get another counterspell. I think it accomplishes the exact same thing.
Okay, so here's a Gaia's Blessing. This is a card that is in theory relevant.
Yes.
Because it gives Flint more threats, but and that is met with a counter or an Arcane Denial.
I think Flint is going to need some way to mill Gaia's Blessing into his library to win the next 2 games.
There's only there's only one copy in, so I don't think there is a card that does that in the list.
Just mill yourself every turn, hoping to hit the Gaia's Blessing to shuffle all your cards back. I mean, we're just trying to find a path, right? I mean, like...
Yep, yeah.
It doesn't feel like one exists, but we're trying to find one.
I feel like there's almost a situation where he does... I'm just bewildered that Seismic Assault resolved, even if it was just for a moment that it was on the board.
I think it's totally fine for Ryan to let it resolve there.
I guess I'm trying to think like what's the downside of countering it if you do have the counter there.
You don't get to untap next turn. I don't know, you lose your stasis. But again,
Okay.
I don't think the stasis is actually doing anything. So
Yeah.
like,
Wait.
what's Flint gonna do? Play some lands? Like,
He will.
yeah, I know, but
Because
like none of the cards in this deck do anything.
no, that's correct. And he's forced to draw whenever there's a Horn Agreed. So
Yeah, so like, who cares if his lands are untapped? Maybe you'll just trick him into tapping a City of Brass and he'll die faster.
that's true.
But I don't know if you noticed, but Flint stacked those all up into one big pile and he
Yeah.
hasn't touched it for a long time.
It's a super
So
city. Metropolis. Oh, now they're split there. Or is that a new one? I don't know.
it's a new one.
Flint's churning through his deck.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You got to end this game somehow, and maybe the quickest route to victory outside of, or the quickest route to the next game outside of just tapping your City of Brass 5 times here is um, probably just playing a bunch of lands and letting that Black Vise do its job.
The cute little
Two of them now.
interaction is there is a Riftstone Portal in Flint's graveyard, so there are a few lands that he's got a Glacial Chasm in play. But he's not gonna be able to pay that upkeep though. So Glacial Chasm in theory could. He's got to find another Glacial Chasm, otherwise he's just gonna die. I mean, that can prevent him from taking damage from the Black Vise, but he's gonna take damage from the cumulative upkeep. So
need some kind of crucible effect.
yeah, I don't know if there's a one in the format. All right, so Glacial Chasm dies. He's under the Black Vise, so he doesn't take any damage. Plays an Undiscovered Paradise. So basically, Flint needs the other Glacial Chasm, which would only keep him alive for one more turn.
Yeah.
Or to stay under the Black Vise, which is going to be difficult because every land he plays draws a card. So
yeah, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough time.
Oh, he tapped a City Brass, didn't he?
No, he tapped a Reflecting Pool.
No, there was one. There was a City Brass under there.
City Brass under there.
Is there no Glacial Chasm in play?
I have no idea.
All right, well,
I can't tell. All the
I'm pretty sure there was a City Brass under there, and there's no longer Glacial Chasm. But
I mean, I think we can all agree that Flint has already lost this game. So
yes,
yeah,
had a giant stack of altered lands that are not untapping.
Ryan will continue to pay a blue and pass the turn.
Oh, he'll Chain of Vapor Stasis, so he'll get to untap. Oh, and he bounced a Horn Agreed. I guess yeah, that makes sense because
Yeah, he'll take another damage.
Put a card.
Okay,
Yep.
let's back it up.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so
let's go to sideboard.
Yeah, what does Flint have in his sideboard that can get him out of this, if anything?
Okay, so Defense Grade is a card that's good against counterspells. I have to imagine those are coming in. Seal of Cleansing is a way to deal with a Black Vise. Same with Aura of Silence. Those can also deal with the Stasis, but I feel like Black Vise is almost a more important card. Energy Flux, I guess, is kind of good against Black Vise. And none of these cards are great, but
yeah, this is gonna be a rough So Flint's best card is got to be Gaea's Blessing, right?
Yeah, or so
I think Flint's gonna win. He's gonna because he decks his opponent.
I agree. I think that's how he needs to look at the matchup. So, do you say take out the Horn Agreed then?
I think so.
I think so too. Like if you play a Horn Agreed and it's in play, I think just one of your then it's in control of Ryan. Like Ryan is able to shape the game and force Flint to play too many lands. And if you just take out the Horn Agreeds, then there's a chance Ryan gushes or impulses, and then you just try and stay under the Black Vise, I think is what you need to do. So just take out all your expensive cards. Like maybe you still leave in Seismic Assault, but like
yeah, I mean I think that's probably fine. I think the card you care about the most is like Gaea's Blessing, because I think you're gonna win by decking your opponent.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. well, Flint's on the play, and if he just never like draws, like if he never casts like crop rotation or whatever, or if Ryan does draw an extra card, then he just stays behind. Then I don't think you need the guy's blessing, but
Yeah, so like I would probably just bring in oh, you know what actually I might bring in here, and this sounds kind of weird, but it'll help you stay under the Black Vise. It's the Solitary Confinement. Right? That's what that is.
yeah, but then you're not drawing any cards, and you don't have a Hornagreed, so it's just going to
Yeah, but
delay.
you don't want the card. Yeah, like if
Yeah, okay,
you just you don't want the cards in your hand.
sure.
Like
That I mean that. Yeah, I guess that's yeah,
weirdly, like if Flint could just like discard his hand and skip his draw step like every turn for the whole game, he would, right?
yeah,
Like that's his like best path to victory. Like so, and Solitary Confinement essentially lets you do that for some amount of turns.
yeah. All right. Let's see if anything happens for the stasis. So I think you bring in Black Vice and Mana Short. Those seem like the cards that.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't think that like you have to do anything, but like, but those cards do something, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I don't think he needs to do that much. So let me just reset the life totals.
yeah, so I think if I was Flint, I would probably try to take out all the cards from my deck that make my deck smaller, if I could. And even if I had to replace them with literal do nothing cards.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just to stay under the Black Vice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we start off with a city brass into exploration into Treva's ruins into exploration into city brass. So lots of land drops, and then here's a trade routes. There is a Black Vice already in play.
Okay. Flint's down to one card though, so you should be fine.
Yes. As long as he doesn't play a Hornagreed. Enlightened Tutor.
Okay, so yeah, I just wouldn't cast that.
Well, no, that puts it on top, so it doesn't.
Oh, sure.
It doesn't actually make your deck smaller.
Okay.
The card he gets is defense grade, so that's kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's like on plan with what I had said before.
Yeah, I mean it's not 100% a must counter, but it definitely makes things a lot more difficult for Ryan if that's in play. Right, Daze is used. And Flint has an additional mana to pay. Oh, he has a second Daze? Right, so it does get countered.
2 Dazes. I mean, so far everything has gone according to Flint's plan. He went first, so he's ahead on deck size, and he is not taking damage from Black Vise.
Yep.
So in another 50 turns or so, he's gonna win.
Yeah. So I know some copies of Stasis that I've seen have a Felden's Cane in the sideboard. I did not see one in Ryan's. So interesting. I mean, the times that I've played Stasis, it didn't seem necessary. So it's funny how this is a matchup where it actually would come into play.
Actually, I think if I was Flint in game 3, assuming that I got through this game, in game 3, I would probably mulligan down to like 5 cards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would play this game I would wait for Ryan to tell me if he was going to keep or not, and if he said he was going to keep, I would mulligan, and I would do that, and then I would stop, and if he mulliganed, I would mulligan until I'd done it one more time than he did.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, like how this lands deck is set up. That like having that many lands in your deck just makes you better against Stasis. Not because, well, just because you won't have to cast spells and to stay under a Black Vise. It's just a very unusual situation. So Ryan, why are those Forsaken? Oh, he gushed, so he had to discard a hand size. So for Ryan, like Is there no targeted card draw? Like he's already gushed and I think he impulsed earlier. So I mean he's already several, I think four cards ahead of Flint.
Yeah, like I just don't think he's killing Flint at any point, right? Like,
All right, Flint's using an Enlightened Tutor to get a Seismic Assault. And I guess as Flint's thinking, oh, if this does resolve, then yeah, I can win the easy way. So, with only 2 cards in, okay, so he's keeping that Seismic Assault in his hand. So I don't. Maybe he's waiting, like to draw a defense grid or something, or I don't know.
yeah, I think he's still on like a trying to come up with a proactive plan to win the game, and I think like the way that these two decks line up, there's just no reason to try to interact with Ryan.
Yeah. All right. So Ryan discarded a Stasis to hand size, and Flint plays a Rishadan Port. Ryan has an impulse. I don't know what he can find though.
Yeah, like I don't. I honestly have no idea like what Ryan's plan is, other than he already drew cards, so he's losing.
Okay, so there's an Energy Flux.
That makes you pay mana for your artifacts, right?
2 mana for each artifact for both players. Yep.
Was that an Arcane Denial?
Yes, it is.
I'll go ahead and choose not to draw my extra cards.
Yes. I want. So I don't, and I think it's. I'm trying to think if Ryan has to draw the card. Let me see. Yeah, so Ryan does have to draw the card, but Flint can draw up to 2 cards.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think Flint is. But did he manage to get both a Seismic Assault and a Trade Routes into play?
It appears so. I guess I was updating something. It looks like it.
Oh wow!
Well, it looks like he can win the easy way then.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got 9 lands, so yeah.
That's just surprising that. I mean, I just always assume that the Stasis deck has enough counter spells.
Well, he was countering like random weird things he didn't need to counter. Like if you're Ryan and you just always only counter.
Yeah.
Oh, he's decided not to cast it.
Oh no, there's a Chain of Vapor in the graveyard, so it was.
Oh, you got bounced. Okay.
It must be. I guess if he doesn't have any other cards in hand, then from Ryan's perspective, then I guess like if he knows he has a Chain of Vapor, but I don't. I mean, with the trade routes in play, then obviously it is a big threat, even if he doesn't have any lands, because he can pick up everything.
Yeah.
So Stasis does come down.
I don't know that it does anything, but it is in play.
Yeah. Here's a Dust Bowl. Dust Bowl's not at its best.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of islands in Ryan's deck, but Ryan just gushing and gushing and gushing.
Let's consider it of him at least to considerably reduce the number of turns we have to sit here and wait.
Sure. Yeah, I don't see. I think he discarded a Sleight of Hand and an island. Flint is going to play a defense grid. That will beat an Arcane Denial, and I guess Flint. Would it be reasonable to like pick up one of the use Wasteland to tap to pick up a multicolor land and then try and cast Seismic Assault? I feel like I would there, but
maybe. If I was in Flint's seat, I would have like so long ago just been like, oh, I already won this game. It's just going to take 20 minutes. That I wouldn't be thinking about anything other than making sure I didn't have cards in my hand.
Sure. Okay, so now he's going for the Seismic Assault. No, that's countered.
Makes sense.
Here is a Chain of Vapor, presumably for the Stasis. Yep. He's going to sacrifice a land. I think he's going to target trade routes.
Trade routes? Oh,
land, or Flint is going to pick up 2 lands. It's not that bad because there's exploration still in play, so Flint can always play those lands right away.
Yeah.
But I guess he is assuming that Stasis is coming down, so he'd rather have him in his hand so he can untap. Like with the Risk Grove, it picks up another land as well.
Sure. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, but I understand why he's doing it.
Well, I guess there's like a scenario where he like just draws spell, and then can't cast any of them, and dies to Black Vises.
Sure. How many spells does he even have left in his deck, actually?
I don't know.
Right, like, he has 35 lands, so that's 25 spells total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 9 right there. 10, 11. He only has 14 spells left in his deck.
Sure.
He'd have to get pretty unlucky to hit a run so big that he couldn't cast anything. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I mean, as long as those explorations stay in play, I don't feel like there's any downside to what he did.
Yeah, I agree.
Brushland and Rishadan Port. Now Flint only has 1 card in hand. I feel like that's the relevant thing to talk about. Cards in Flint's hand and maybe cards in players' decks.
One of those things we can't possibly know.
Yeah.
But I guess we could do a bunch of math on Flint's side of the board.
Sure.
Well, he stacked all his lands up, so actually you can.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you need to take out like a pad of paper for the next game and we'll...
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's good enough to know that Ryan is really far ahead on cards.
Yes.
Cards drawn.
All right.
You can only Chain of Vapor so many more times.
I feel like he's had 3 or 4 of them.
Why would you pay? Just like bin it.
I don't know.
You clearly don't have lands in your hand, or you just played them already.
Sure.
So why are you tapping your mana so that you can't play the spells in your hand?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Maybe I'm wrong. What do I know?
Gotta get him the little little jab on the side so your daze doesn't do anything. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I guess it with 1 already in play, I can see maybe like if it were the first one that it would have some value, but
yeah.
There's a Tormod's Crypt. It's a free spell.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, absolutely a card I would bring in, I think.
Yeah.
It does nothing except be a card that he can put into play for no mana.
Yeah.
There's the Seal of Cleansing.
Yes. That one's thwarted.
I would say we got about another 20 turns of this.
Yeah, I mean they might come to the realization that nothing is going to happen. But here is let's talk about Ice Floe. Can we talk about Ice Floe?
Let's talk about Ice Floe.
All right, so Ice Floe is Premodern's version of Maze of Ith, and it's not very good. I'll tell you that. You may choose not to untap Ice Floe during your untap step. Tap target creature without flying that is attacking you. And then you can keep it tapped to keep that creature from untapping.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's not that good. It's not Mazebith, but...
Well, the biggest part is, like, the creature has to be attacking you, so it's like...
Yeah.
I guess most of the creatures, it probably doesn't matter. But, I mean, like,
Mazebith doesn't do anything against a creature that's not attacking you.
No, but I'm saying, like, something like a Suture Ghoul that is, like, a 20/20, it doesn't do anything against. Or, like, Phyrexian Dreadnought is a 12/12, and you still have to take a hit from a Dreadnought.
Sure.
So it loses some of the effectiveness against those cards, which I feel like are closer to the targets that you want to use that against. But
that's true.
All right, Flint playing with his dice with a number, so he's got 4 cards in hand.
That's not good.
Getting scary.
Well, he's at 16, so...
Yeah, there are 3 Black Vices in play.
Okay, now it is scary.
Alright, a Riftstone Portal.
There's nothing he can't play in his deck that's... Like, he can cast every card in his deck, so...
He cannot cast Seismic Assault.
That's true. He can cast all non-Seismic Assault cards in his deck, though. I think it's pretty dangerous for him not to try to cast something there, because...
Something like Chain of Vapor, I guess?
Yeah, I think Ryan has 1 Chain of Vapor left. He has 3 in his deck, right? I think he's played 2 so far this game.
I want to say 3, but I'm not sure. So there's a Glacial Chasm. So here's a spot where he can... I mean, I don't know if you would want to go above the limit of Black Vise, but he's not going to take any damage. He's going to pay life to keep it alive if he is. He might just sack it, I don't know.
I'd probably just sack it.
He is able to tap it for mana because the Riftstone Portal's in the graveyard. So a Gaia's Blessing. This draws him a card, though. I guess it would put 3 more back,
still,
so
yeah.
That gets thwarted. I think Flint has 3 cards in hand now. Now 2.
Sounds right to me.
Yes. All right. So at this point, Ryan is asking how many cards are in Flint's library.
Okay, they figured it out.
Flint has 20, and Ryan concedes. So.
Okay, it took him a little bit longer to figure it out than I thought it would.
I mean, I think maybe he. I mean, I wouldn't say that he didn't know, but maybe he was just trying to get cards that Flint had sideboarded, or waiting for Flint to mess up or something.
So let's assume that Flint figures out that he can mulligan his way into more cards in library. Does Ryan have any way he can board in that actually does anything to stop that?
Mana Short is a card that potentially could do something.
Like, what if Flint just mulligans to 0 cards?
Yeah, I mean, that seems too risky, because then, like, you might draw a few, like, cards that you can't cast, and then if, like, Black Vices come down. But all right. Let me skip to start of the next game. Let's go back here. And so Ryan has mulligan to 5, and Flint is mulligan to 4.
Okay.
So that's possible that was somewhat intentional.
Yeah, I think so.
A Forsaken City is the first land that Ryan had, which got wastelanded. And then he has an island and a Black Vise. So Ryan just has more Black Vices, but Flint...
This would be a pretty good hand against the 7 card, against the 7 card hand, but not against a 4 card hand.
Yeah. Flint just has lands, exploration, land.
Yeah.
A defense grid. And with only 1 blue mana, that's going to resolve, I believe.
Yeah, looks like it to me.
All right, we got
A third Black Vise.
okay. Enlightened Tutor. What's he gonna get here? Energy Flux. Oh god.
Man, I did not see this being how this game turned out, but I have to imagine that if this Energy Flux resolves, that Ryan has literally no outs to win this game.
There is one more or one more Black Vise in theory, but all three of those dying is not good news for Ryan.
I think at this point, man, like you probably just let that defense grid go down, but he doesn't have anything else to spend his mana on, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't think it's not like Ryan's gonna cast Stasis here, so
yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. The trade routes resolves. Ryan finally hits his second land. But
it's funny they both figured out that they had a mulligan.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't. Given that Ryan didn't have very many lands, it doesn't necessarily makes me kind of think that maybe he was mulliganing bad hands. Because I don't. I guess is if he had 3 Black Vices, then maybe he's thinking like, oh, this is a way for me to win.
Yeah, I think like also it's possible that like Ryan mulliganed once and then Flint mulliganed and then Ryan mulliganed again and then Flint mulliganed.
Sure.
And then because Ryan's on the plate here, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think Ryan probably just came to the realization that Flint's just going to mulligan if I mulligan, and then said, "Okay, I'm done wasting my time shuffling."
Yeah, I mean, but if they both like went to 0 and just Ryan just never casts a draw card spell, do you think that gives him better odds to win? Than playing a normal game?
Yeah, maybe. Honestly, it would depend on like what the first 7 cards off each pile were, you know. But like, I think.
But I'm saying like if we play a normal like calling this a normal game of Magic, can Ryan even win if Flint just never has Horn of Greed? Like and is like he's always gonna be able to cast the spells, right? Like there's I guess Mana Short is the one card that maybe could throw that off.
If they both go to 0 and like Flint draws 7 spells in a row, he could lose.
Like if Flint, like let's say Ryan just has a bunch of lands, then he would have to have some number of Chain of Vapors, Black Vices, and a Stasis, and then he could bounce some of the more expensive cards of Flint and then Mana Short. I don't know. That seems like a lot of cards.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, if they both mulligan to 0 and Flint drew just like no lands, which is very unlikely given that his deck is 35 lands, then he could probably get caught. But once he figures out that like he just needs to not draw his cards and put all of his permanents into play, like it's pretty hard to lose from that point, I think.
So at this point, Ryan says, "I only have 1 Black Vice left. I don't think I can win, but I'll play it out for the kids," is what he said. So.
Okay.
So he's gonna try. He's gonna give it the good old college try.
He's gonna do his best.
Well, I mean, there's basically he needs Black Vice in play. There is an Aura Silence already. He can Chain of Vapor if Flint were to use that Aura Silence.
Yeah, I mean, like he has to Chain of Vapor the Aura of Silence.
No, he would have Black Vice in play, and then if Flint were ever to use the Aura Silence on the Black Vice, he would Chain of Vapor his own Black Vice.
Sure, but he'd have to have like enough mana to pay for the defense grid. But it looks like the defense grid's gone down, so
yeah.
Looks like Flint decided not to pay for it on the Energy Flux. So he's just got another one. So who cares? Like,
okay, I don't. I guess. Did he forget one time? I don't. What is the point? Like, I guess maybe he just doesn't want to pay 4 every turn.
Yeah, or like, yeah, like you just want to not. Like one of the ways you could like maybe get boned here is like start paying a bunch of mana to Energy Flux and then get Stasis out.
Ryan was gonna try and cast a Gush, but it cost 1 extra mana. Then he had lands.
Yeah.
Now he's casting out on his own turn, but only cost 5 mana.
Classic, classic.
We're still at 20 each.
Yeah.
Ryan has to discard a hand size. Counterspell is not very good.
Seems true.
All right, here's the Seismic Assault.
The trade routes is in play.
Yeah. All right, Ryan's
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, Flint just has 10 lands, so Ryan is dead next turn unless he deals with the Seismic Assault or the trade routes.
yeah. Is there? Oh, he has. Oh, he's Chain of Vaporing. Don't you need a Chain of Vapor Seismic Assault?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't do the math.
Discarding some counter spells.
Oh, I suppose he could have a Stasis to make it so that he doesn't untap all his lands.
But he just discarded a hand size.
Oh, okay. Then I think he's dead. Okay, maybe not. I'm confused. Is there something I don't understand?
There could be Stifles, but that's only going to save you 2 life.
I mean, he could chain a vapor in response to some of the land getting picked up, but
You can only do that.
Flint,
Yeah, I don't.
Flint could just pick up the rest of the land. Like,
I mean, I guess you could wait and then just have more and like maybe do it a little later. But
I mean, Flint also doesn't have to do anything to win the game. He could just like sit there until Ryan decides he doesn't want to play Magic anymore.
yeah, I guess.
So I guess from that perspective, I guess it makes some sense.
Yeah, maybe Flint's enjoying this.
It's a pretty wild interaction of between decks.
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's funny how. I mean, in game one, it seems so lopsided for Ryan's favor, and then it's just funny how things are able to work out for Flint that
Once you take out the Hornet Greens,
that Ryan is just almost hopeless that he can't do anything.
The thing is, like, this is more of a deck building error on Ryan's part than anything else. Because if he had access to a single Feldon's Cane, he could never lose. Flint has no permission and no hand disruption.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was a way that Flint could do anything about that, and maybe you're right. I mean, this scenario does not seem like it would come up very often.
I don't know what the opportunity cost of like a single Feldon's Cane is for him, but it seems like it's probably got to be low enough that like it's got to be worth it.
Oh,
especially when you're going to be initiating these weird fights where people aren't allowed to do anything.
All right, so
you know what I mean? Like
Flint has used 3 lands to discard to Ryan. Now more. I guess. All right, so now this is where we're trade routing and flinging.
Damage.
I guess I'm not sure exactly what changed in terms of the board state where. I mean, maybe Flint was just waiting for.
Oh, there's a Chain of Vapor on the stack. It looks like.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, it seemed like he had it before.
Yeah, I guess he just waited for the Chain of Vapor to get on the stack.
Okay.
That's what he waited for.
So yeah, so that was a bizarre match, but
pretty weird.
Lance takes it down. Yep. So here we see Flint. He's taking out all the Hornegreeds, taking out all the Summer Blooms. He took out a Gamble. So he took out 9 cards.
Yeah, I would just take out any card that. I would have taken out the other Gamble. I would have just taken out any card that made my deck smaller.
Sure, that makes sense. He brought in Elephant Grass.
I mean, any permanent will do. I think, did he bring in the Solitary Confinement? He should have brought in the Solitary Confinement, I think.
It does cost 3, so I don't. Maybe that was just his thought, is that he didn't want to have too many 3-drops.
That's possible. Yeah, that's definitely a weird set of games right there.
Well, it's also interesting because like if this game happened in the Swiss, I don't know if I mean Flint has to take that risk and say like I have to hope he doesn't have a way to shuffle his library because I don't think I'm ever going to be able to resolve a seismic assault, which I think is reasonable. But like it's just unknown. Like you don't because the deck lists are public and they know them. Like Flint is able to craft this game plan.
Well, I think like if I'm Flint in the first game, or I think like the first game I probably can't win no matter what. Like once I realize what's going on. In the second game, once I realize like what's happening, and I take out the hornaries or whatever, and um, I see that I really don't have like a proactive game plan. I'm never going to concede the second game until my opponent shows me that they have a Felden's Cane or some kind of shuffle effect. But I will just concede the match as soon as they show me one. So
yeah, he could have brought a null. He could have brought a Null Rod, and there might be like a situation where Ryan doesn't have like the Chain of Vapor at the right time. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, that's a spicy one.
I don't know. But
you could also have the Tormod script, right?
He did. He had that in. Oh, but yeah, that is something that would fight Felden's Cane. Yeah. But even like shuffling like 5 cards might be enough.
Yeah, but it's just your whole graveyard, so you just leave the Tormod script in play and wait until he gets the Felden's Cane and then get his graveyard.
Yeah, but there's Chain of Vapor.
What does Chain of Vapor do?
Bounces the Tormod script and then you counter it.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to counter it. You could just bounce it, and if they don't activate the Tormod script, then you activate your Felden's Cane. Right? Like.
Yeah. But okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting, but I mean, the Felden's Cane didn't exist, so I guess it's a moot.
Yeah.
Is there like? I mean, at this point, like it's too late, obviously, but it feels like Flint needs to have some plan B with this land deck. Because he gets shut down so hard by permission.
Well, the plan against permission is you have
a bunch of defense grids,
and Rishadan Ports and Wastelands. But yes, there are certain spots. I guess permission that cost mana is not that big of a deal because I think you actually can set up situations where you're in pretty good spots. But against like the Stasis type counter spells, yeah, thwart is very difficult. But yeah,
there's not like a Tutor land that you could play that would be like.
You could play a man land, but I don't know. It seems
like a Treetop Village in here, like.
It seems kind of narrow. Maybe a Mishra's Factory. I guess like the opportunity cost of like playing a Mishra's Factory or a Treetop Village is probably not that high. So
yeah,
I guess it kind of would change the dynamic of something like this. But yeah, pretty interesting. All right, so Flint is going to advance, and maybe the lands deck can continue finding creative ways to win games. So
yeah, that was pretty wild, right?
Thanks for joining me, Bob.
Yeah, for sure. We can see more of Flint so this was his top 8 match, quarterfinals match?
This was his top 16. So
top 16. Okay.
Yeah, so I know at this point we did this because I know Andrew was not able to stream it, so I don't know. More of the matches just might be streamed live, but we were happy to cover this unique recorded match, so it was pretty fun. All right, so thanks for everyone for watching, and until next time, take care.
Take care, be good.